Welcome to the Beyond Average podcast, where we go beyond revenue and talk about what really builds enterprise value, leadership, culture, customer connection, and scalable systems through the four intangible capitals. I'm Kristin Carlson, and I'm joining me today is Scott Chelberg, CFP, CEPA, and Wealth Management Advisor at Retirement Solutions in Carlsbad, California. So, Scott, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Kristen, for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. So we'd love to learn how you got started, how you got this business started.
Sure. Well, I had some really good advice from a mentor in my fraternity back in the University of Nebraska. I was the treasurer and I dropped off deposits on a regular. And he said, "What do you plan on doing after you graduate?" And I said, "I think I want to go into investment management or stock brokerage." He goes, "On your way home, stop over at the Piper Jeffrey office. I have a meeting set up with the leader there, and he'll give you some pointers," which I did. I stopped on the way home, and he said, "The number one thing to do is find where you want to live, because you don't want to build a practice and then choose that you don't want to live there any longer." So I set out to find a good place to live and ended up in North County of San Diego, California. And the second thing he said is find the best company that has a good training program. And at that time, it was fairly new to become a financial planner versus a stockbroker. And I found a company by the name of IDS out of Minneapolis. And so I joined IDS. They had a fantastic training program, really deep into financial planning, not just investments, not just insurance, et cetera. And then I enrolled in the CFP program as soon as I could. And after a couple of years of training through IDS, I decided I wanted to be independent, because when you read the role that you're playing as a certified financial planner, you really have to take on a fiduciary role. And I didn't feel I could really do that by representing only one company's products. So I went independent in early 88, 1988. And that's shortly thereafter I received my CFP designation. And so I popped over to Mutual of New York for a little while. And then that didn't last long. And I went to another broker dealer called Titan Value Equities Group, which was out of Tustin, California, and stayed with them and had a partner for a little while, Scott Cohen. And from there, we really started to niche into the senior market and worked really close with an organization out here called Scripps Health. They had a membership program called Health Plus 55. They were just educating seniors on how to take good care of themselves. And then, of course, what to do when you turn 65 with Medicare and Medicare supplements. And so we put on educational workshops for the Health Plus 55 organization on all kinds of different topics. We'd bring in a trust attorney to talk about wills and living trust. We bring in a CPA to talk about accounting and taxes and tax reduction strategies. We bring in investment managers to talk about investments, and insurance specialists on insurance for Medicare, long-term care, et cetera. So that's how I got started.
Excellent. So when did you start Retirement Solutions, or did that morph into that?
Yeah, so my partner at that time was Scott Cohen, and we called ourselves SC Financial Services and specializing in the senior market. And I said, I really want to go more into the business market. And he didn't want to do that. So we split ways, and I brought on a couple new partners. One of them was a college and fraternity buddy of mine, Bill Peritry, and the other one was Gary Gunning. And we formed, at that time, Corporate Benefit and Retirement Solutions, because Bill did pensions and 401ks, et cetera. So he really worked on the company side, not the owner side, where Gary and I specialized in working with the business owners and not the company side. So a couple of years later, and Bill had an opportunity to join a big insurance agency out here called Barney and Barney, which is now called Marsh McClellan.
Oh,
And
yes, know
he's
that
still
name.
with them. Yeah, still with them and doing fantastic work with the
Okay.
401ks and pensions. But we split off, and I dropped the name Corporate Benefits and just went with Retirement Solutions. So specializing in helping individuals plan for and then execute their ideal retirement lifestyle.
Awesome. And so tell us a little more. So you're helping that business owner. They own a business. They need to figure out what to do with it, or what they want to do next. I mean, where do you come in to play on that?
Well, oftentimes we work with what I call my avatar is Tired Ted. He's probably in his mid 60s. He's been at this business for 30, 40 years. It's his baby. And he's not sure if he can support his ideal retirement lifestyle with the net sales proceeds from the sale of his business. So what we do is we start identify what he has and or what they have in the way of assets, and then get a sense of what the business is worth and their other investment savings, and maybe they own a building that the business is operated on. And so take a look at the different income sources like Social Security and what they might have in their 401k, and do a true financial plan and identify what they have and then what they need to support that ideal retirement lifestyle. Oftentimes, what we find is with our taxes being so high here in California, that by the time you pay taxes and transaction costs, there's just not that much money left over. And so we end up with what we call a wealth gap. So we need to increase the wealth of that business owner so we can close that wealth gap and provide for that ideal retirement lifestyle. And when we do that, we typically find the easiest way to close the wealth gap is to increase the value of the business. And so we identify if there's a value gap, and that's the difference between a really, really well run company in that industry compared to yours. And then you have a profit gap, and that would be the difference of a really well run company compared to yours, and percentage of profit of revenue, et cetera. And so we drive those two up as much as possible to get that valuation necessary to end up with the exit amount of money that provides for the lifestyle that they've grown accustomed to.
Excellent. So we both are CEPAs, and that's where we really learned about this, about how can we really increase the value. And I say, like, move the multiplier, right? How can we move that multiplier so that business can be worth so much more, right? So what are some of the areas that you focus on from increasing value?
Well, honestly, we really don't ourselves drive the value. We bring in what we call value acceleration specialists. And so what we find is that a lot of times, we're looking at the different categories that really drive value. As you know, in Walking to Destiny, the book by Chris Snyder, you have the four C's, right? So you have the human capital, which is really the value of your team and your talent. You have the structural capital, which is the value of your systems and your intellectual property. You have customer capital, and that's kind of the relationship that you have with your customers and not being too heavy with one customer or type of customer. And that really drives your, how good you score and your net promoter score. And then the last is your social capital. And that's really your brand and your culture. And so we look at those four areas and say, is there anything in those areas that we could really drive more value? And it probably doesn't cost a lot of money, but we can really make a big impact. And so we focus there to start with. And then we also have a couple tools through the Value Builder that we look at, and they have what they call a sellability score. And there's 8 different categories in that ranks the business in comparison to its industry in these 8 categories. And then we figure out what 2 or 3 areas they should focus on to really drive value. Sometimes their finances are a mess, so we need to bring somebody in like maybe a fractional CFO or all the way down to a controller. Maybe they have some culture issues and don't really, not strong in hiring and retaining quality help. So we bring in a culture expert. So those would be the types of things that we run across that really bring in the key players to help the business owner drive that value, close that profit gap. Therefore, we close that wealth gap.
Awesome. So would you happen to have an example of or a success story that you could share with us?
Well, I can tell you one that's going on right now. We met them about 4 years ago, and they have a manufacturing company here in the North County area. And they were very specific in what they were manufacturing. And that area, if I said what they specialized in, you know who it is most likely, but they specialized in a special plastic mold. And they weren't very diversified. Almost all their customers were in the same vertical. And so the first thing we did once we finished their financial plan is, and got a sense of what their business value was, is we need to increase the value of the business by about $2 million is all. So it was about five at the time. We said, if we can get seven after taxes and transactions, we'll close your wealth gap and you'll be on your merry way to a great retirement. So we brought in a revenue enhancement officer to help them diversify their customer base and get into medical device molding. And they landed a couple of really good customers, and now they're operating 24/6. So three shifts,
Wow.
6 days a week, and they've driven their value up. And we have offers right now a little bit over 9 million.
Wow,
Yeah.
excellent.
And so there was other things going on. We had to get a controller in there to tighten up their books. So that was it. And then along the way, the last 3 years, I always preach to business owners to get as much money out of the business and onto your personal wealth side as possible. So we were able to extract about $3 million over the last 3 years from the business over into their personal portfolio and still maximize all their retirement plans, et cetera. So they should be well on their way to a wonderful retirement here as soon as they close the business, which most likely will be the next month or two.
Oh, congratulations. And just
Yeah,
focusing on a few things, right? Went way even beyond what they were expecting that they could
yeah,
sell the business for.
exactly.
So
And pairing them up with the right advisors really made a big difference with, a good investment banking firm that really knew how to find the strategic buyers that would be able to just bolt them on and keep their team in place and not have an earn out because the husband and wife did not want an earn out. They wanted to be done with the business. So it
great.
worked out really well.
Awesome. So you have built a great business. And I think the last time we chatted, you talked about your own exit strategy. Could you share a little bit with us about that?
Yeah. So first of all, my team is comprised of an office manager, Becky, who does all of our communications and really runs our office. And she's been with me for over 15 years. And she works 9 to 2 every day. Then we have a fantastic client service representative, Noah Myers, and he's just a little rock star, so helpful, handling all the clients and everything. And then we have DeAndre, who just passed his CFP and currently is studying for his Series 7 exam in 65. And once he gets licensed, then he's going to start working with some of our clients. And then we're going to need to backfill his paraplanner role with somebody who wants to perhaps get their CFP and do the same thing that he did. Really a master of e-money, the software, but understanding how to build portfolios and all of that. And then DeAndre will start working with more and more clients once we get that paraplanner position refilled. And then we're looking for a senior advisor to join us that perhaps has their own book, but would be a good transition to take over my portion of the practice. And so keep the team in place and then just buy me out over time. And not that I want to leave what I do. I love what I do and don't intend on leaving for probably another 10 years. But to get that really transitioned well and get the relationships transferred over with all of our clients, it'll take a few years. So that's the game plan.
And so, how have you addressed some of the intangible capitals for your business? Where were some of the risks that you identified to?
Well, the things that we really do is that our culture is really based on our values, and investing in our people is really, really important. So, getting DeAndre through the CFP and paying for his entire class there, and now paying for his studies and getting him all licensed, those types of things. Noah's actually in a business master's program to get his master's degree in business. And so we like to help our team members, if you will, continue to grow themselves. And, we have five basic core values here at Retirement Solutions. And the first of is caring. And we like to say applied knowledge, because knowledge is worthless unless you do something with it, right? Collaborative. So we like to work closely with other centers of influence and our clients. We got to get it done attitude. So we love results and we're very results driven. And we want to be dependable. We want to be reliable. We want to be there for our clients. So caring, applied knowledge, collaborative, get it done and dependable really helps us, you know, deliver what we feel is important to our clients and then do the same thing here in our own office. So that really builds the right culture.
So, sounds like you're building a great team too.
Yeah, and we also implement EOS. So we run on the EOS system. So every Wednesdays we have our L10 meetings. This Thursday we actually have our EOS implementer coming in for the full day and getting us all set up for the next third quarter, and identifying what our rocks are going to be and how we're going to have to adjust our scorecard to keep all of that on track and making sure we're knocking down our milestones to reach our annual goals.
So with that transparency to your team on where you're at and what the company needs to do really to grow. I mean, do you see a lot of engagement from your team? I mean, has it really shifted the way everyone participates?
It really did. And we have an open book policy here. So if we show our P&L, our balance sheet, everybody knows, what people are making, what our bonus structure is. So we want everybody to be fully engaged and finding that, the more we weigh in on their opinions and everybody is a team player, the better we all are. It's surprising how sometimes we as business owners think we know a lot, but if we ask the right questions, we really figure out how much our team knows more than we do. And I find that fascinating and fun. And just getting that additional engagement's very rewarding.
Right. And empowering them to be, contributing, right, at that strategic level that really builds loyalty and a desire to really, they take ownership of the company too.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Awesome. So Scott, to wrap up, would you have any advice that you would give an entrepreneur wanting to start in the financial industry or someone starting a new business?
Well, I think with anything, you want to start with the end in mind. So, what is your end objective? Is it to have a lifestyle business? Is it to scale a business and get yourself out of it and sell it for maximum value? Or is it more of a lifestyle business which is going to provide a lot of cash flow but doesn't require a lot of work on your part so you can, have an enjoyable, what I call semi-retirement while earning a good living, right? So you have to start with the end in mind. And if it's to scale, my recommendation is to get involved in an entrepreneurial organization like EO or EOA, the accountability groups. And those are basically peer to peer, where if you have challenges with human resources or whatever, finances or whatever it might be, you have a sounding board and you have a coach to get you through it. So I'm big on that. I also think that reading the book Traction is a really good thing for implementing EOS. And as far as being in the financial services industry, I would start by interviewing some of the companies that have good training programs and going out and seeing how they differ and who they specialize in working with. Some people specialize in working with women or men or law firms or company sides on the pension side, or maybe they're more insurance focused or tax focused or investment focused. So find what really resonates with you. So it's fun to learn what you already have an interest in, and you'll be better at it because of that.
So, and I know that you had gotten that advice when you started your career, right? Is to find a great training program. There's so many companies that offer that, and then there's so
Yeah,
many that don't, right? So
exactly. And it's harder and harder to find that, right? Because it is an investment. And
it is.
so companies are choosing not to put their money into that area. And it's tough to learn what you really need to learn in school programs.
Right.
So
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and just sharing about how you've grown your business and how you help your clients, and then how you're preparing for your next stage and maybe a little lighter on the work and more time for you and the family.
absolutely. Looking forward to those days too. Kristen, it's been a real pleasure. You have a definite gift at this.
Oh, thank you. Have a super day.
You do the same.
Thank you.